Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Your Little Castle Show. We got Bullwash Exterior Cleaning in the building, St. Louis specialist in exterior cleaning. People need to get a clean house on the inside and the outside. Is it fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think that's important?
Well, the inside of your home is where you're living, but the outside is what you see when you walk around. What other people see, and the first impression of your home is always important.
That is always the case. You want to have a nice, presentable house, because if you do have a nice house, which most of us have, right? Or we live in a nice place with somebody, depending on what you're at and where in life. You want to have nice furniture. So give it a shout out for our sponsors, Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things. Where do people like these nice things? In their little castle that you're keeping clean for them.
Yeah.
The outside needs to look as good. People notice the outside a lot more than they do the inside. How many people times you get to go into the house?
Not many.
Not many. You drive by a lot of houses. If you're going to sell your house, you better have that thing looking good. And just
Yeah.
overall, like positivity and cleanliness. Is that a positivity and cleanliness? I think I just made that up. You probably have said that before.
Cleanliness is a big thing.
Cleanliness is next to godliness, I think I've heard them say. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for our guest, the owner of Bullwash Exterior Cleaning. Look at it on the screen right there. Jacob McCallister. Did I say it right?
Yep.
McCallister is a fairly common name in our region.
Yep.
A few McCallisters. You got a few family members that.
McCallister's Deli?
Any relation?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely nothing.
Always trying to get free food, though.
If you want to get free food from Jacob at McCallister's, you'll have to talk to somebody else.
You're right.
He has the name, but I guess you could make that up and be like, "Hey, everybody, I think I'm related." They'd probably kick you out.
Yeah, they don't let it. They don't go for it.
It doesn't work so well. It's because he's an honest, good, hard-working young man. The reason I first became most excited about having you as a guest is because by looking at you, I mean, you can't judge people by the cover of the book, right? But my dad would say, but you can tell a heck of a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You look young. That's where I go, man, I am jealous. Jealous is bad. Jealousy's bad. I'm envious. Is that bad too? I don't know if I'm jealous or envious, but I'm excited for a guy as young as you. We've had some great conversation. And it was literally like, I could tell you know your stuff. And if you didn't know your stuff, I'd be like, well, maybe you shouldn't be a guest on our show. But you do.
This guy out of here.
And so I was like, this guy's on the ball, and he's super young. I won't give away his age because I don't think that should be a determination. I think it's about how much knowledge you have and the perspective you bring to life in the little planet we live on and how you help other people. Do you help other people with your business?
I do all the time. I love helping people out. I love talking to people and just getting to know them and helping them with their property.
Is it a matter of, what do you think it is you get most to help people with? Is it really just that sense of they've got a nice new clean house now, and where would they have had that house in such a clean order without you?
They could do it themselves, or they could have me come in. I can teach them a thing or two about how to do it themselves if they wanted to, or I could do it for them. I'm happy to teach people everything I know, but sometimes you just got to have the professional come in.
See, this gives me hope for our country. We have young, ambitious, smart, informed, hardworking. I can throw a few more in there, but is that enough?
Yeah, that's all right.
That's not enough for now. All right, so you decided to get into this. Now, you've been doing this. If you found out how old he is, you'd be like, would he start when he was 7? But you've been doing this for a solid 5 years with your own company.
Yep.
Prior to that, what led you to this? How did you get into the exterior house cleaning business that helped you realize this is what you want to do as a business owner?
Yeah, so it's funny enough, I really love cleaning. I've always loved cleaning. Going back to when I was a kid, my dad would be like, "That's not clean. You need to just clean that spatula all the way before you put it in the dishwasher." But it was actually a friend's idea to get into it. I initially started with a partner. So shout out to Jackson Meyer, my buddy. He ended up going back to college, and I stuck with it, dropped out of college, and the rest is history.
There's some other famous business people who dropped out of college who did okay. Bill Gates.
Bill Gates, yeah.
What's his name from Facebook? Mr.
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg, right? Yeah. Are you along that path? Same mindset?
Yep.
We talked a little bit about the mindset. This is important, everybody. When you talk about the mindset, there's a well-known enough to where I forget his name, but a well-known Phil. He writes a lot of books. I forget his name. He's on Bill Yu's interview. If you follow Bill Yu or what his last name is, but he literally talks about if there's one thing he would recommend that would to help people to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
We just mentioned it. What do you think it was? He said was the most important thing people had to have the right what?
Self-education.
Self-education.
That's my best guess.
That's a good one. That's right along the lines. Mindset.
Mindset, yeah.
He says your attitude determines your success.
I would agree with that, yeah.
How many people they complain and whine and complain some more, and then we're done with that, they whine some more.
Yeah.
And you wonder, like, all that energy spent whining and complaining, if you just got off your butt and done something, you'd be way further ahead right now, and you might start seeing some results.
Mm-hmm.
So you decided to quit college. You talk about that. I was going to say, don't say that out loud unless you're comfortable saying it. This young man here quit college because he figured out if you want to be wealthy on this planet, and by virtue of helping people, because as a business owner, you either help people or you go out of business, right? Generally, that's the way it works. And now you can become. Why did you decide you wanted to start a business? I mean, that's the first thing I want to ask you.
I've just always enjoyed doing things my own way, and I want to do things right, and helping people with their cleaning is something that I know that I can do properly and the best way possible. So
yeah, I mean, when it boils down to it, I mean, I do some coaching for adults and kids around the country to just give them that mindset. My story went through a coma. You want to learn more, go to cardinalcowboy.com. Put the hat on if you want me to. That's the Cardinal Cowboy hat. But we share with people a lot of the message that you're talking about. That is, you have to be organized, you have to be ambitious. But I'd say along the line of keeping life in order, you want to have things clean. True?
Yeah, it's very true.
Why?
So I always think that if you got a clean mind and a clean room, you're just set up for success. If you got everything in order, then you just can focus on the more important things. Big decisions you got coming up are just a little bit easier when your space is clean and everything's organized.
I agree with you, and I would say that is definitely something that if you are not in an environment that is clean, you're doing much more damage to your own long-term objectives than most people realize.
Yeah.
People judge you a little bit too based on this. If you're trying to sell your house, this is probably what you help people out with. Hey, I want to sell my house. You have green stuff all over on the vinyl. You have a roof that you clean roofs. What do you focus on? What's your major focus for what you clean?
Mostly
anything outside?
House washing, window cleaning, roof washing. Around here, definitely the green algae on the siding is a big thing. Just if you're trying to sell a house and you see that on the siding, you're like, ooh, can't imagine what the inside looks like if you're rolling up and the outside's covered in mold and mildew. I get a lot of people that call me for window cleaning on their listings. I want to be able to see out the windows if they haven't been cleaned in 30 years. And yeah.
Yeah, when windows that haven't been cleaned for 30 years, I would imagine there is some definite buildup there.
Oh, yeah.
I might have a job for you down in the middle of Missouri. I don't know if it's too far for you, but we have a big old Victorian house. My dad grew up there, and we now have done some remodeling to it. They did a lot. It's a historic site now. But I can tell you, I've looked at some of the windows because you're on the second and third floor. They're not the easiest to clean.
Right.
There's an attic that you can walk around in, and there's windows up on. And there's a cuticle or observation deck on top of that. Cleaning those is very difficult. But you're just talking about the average St. Louisan, Midwesterner might have windows on that second floor, or even on the first floor. Because a lot of people have that walkout basement. Is this true? You walk out basement, and then because that's essentially it's a lower level, basement level, but the second floor, which is the first floor,
right,
hard to get to.
Right.
You clean all of that too.
Yep, all of it. I'll get up on my big ladder, or I'll get my pole out, and I'll get up there with the mop and squeegee and just get her done.
So now you're talking about how people can do it themselves, and I imagine that is very much so the case until you start talking about 10-foot poles and squeegees. That's where it gets to where, like, hey, do you want to buy $475 worth of equipment for a job you're going to do once every? How often do people get these?
I've got people that get house washes every year, 2 years, 3 years. Some of them go a little too long, maybe 5 years, but
too long.
Window cleaning, yeah, you can do that quarterly, annually, semi-annually, all that.
Okay, and it's mostly, part of that attitude, the perspective we're trying to help people understand is get your house clean, because it's just people judge you based on that. If you run a business out of your house, for sure. If you have just people that know where you live and they base the fact, they do whatever business
Mm-hmm.
publicly, that's what they do. Well, then is their business run like their house? And I know
Mm-hmm.
Bob, he lives down the street. I'm not going to do business with him. Lots of reasons to clean the house. The biggest one I would also argue, tell me how often is this the case? You get a call from the realtor.
Yeah, I do get a lot of calls from realtors, just with listings and stuff, like I talked about earlier, getting everything cleaned up so that somebody actually wants to buy this house.
Somebody says, hey, we're thinking about selling the house and we better get it cleaned up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
before we do that, because you don't want to have a house that doesn't look good if you're trying to sell it. How about that? How about that? We talk about that. All right. I would argue that is a very strong reason, among many other reasons, but just cleanliness is next to godliness. All right. What is your passion about this? If we jump back a little bit and say, you talked about as a kid, you just love making things look good, clean.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little bit that way. My friends, they're like, why are you such a stickler on getting every little piece off of there? I'm like, because I don't like utensils, for instance, right? Why would I not want every piece of whatever off of, I will hand wash my utensils because they get cleaner than the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to put that in my mouth.
Right.
But likewise, you don't want to walk around a house with dirty floors. You don't want to have a house that you lean up against it and you walk back and you're like,
Yeah, dust and
I'm talking about the outside, just the vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
What surfaces do you clean most often? What do you?
Oh yeah, so definitely house wash would be the number one. Getting all the dust and the mold and the mildew off of there. Got to be my favorite. Just some of the transformations on these houses are incredible. I cleaned one yesterday, and it probably hadn't been cleaned in 10 years. The whole house, the whole north side was green, and the siding was supposed to be white.
So it was a nice green painted house.
I guess so. Yeah, that's what they.
You're saying it wasn't green. It looked green.
Not anymore. It's not.
And now it's white. Or back? What color is it back to?
White. Yeah.
White. Hey, get yourself a nice house. White shows off more dirt than any, I guess, in some cases. But dirt can be a lighter color. Like I noticed about cars. You get a white car, sometimes the light dirt won't stand out as much, but you get a darker color, it really stands out.
Oh yeah.
And then vice versa, depending on what. If it's tar, that's going to stand out on a white house. Can you take off tar? What are some of the things you can actually get to come off the surface?
So typically with the house wash, it'll just be organic buildup, just all the stuff that grows from moisture, not getting enough sunlight or stuff like that. But even like oxidation or I've cleaned grease from a kitchen vent, people cooking, and it just shoots grease out the vent and gets on their siding too. There's a lot of stuff you can clean off of it. I haven't seen it all, but there's definitely a lot that can be cleaned off, but not everything. People think that power washing solves all their problems. Sometimes you can't. You just need new siding.
So you might become a siding sales referral partner here for any siding companies. A couple guys have been on my show, sell siding. Isaac, I'm thinking about you. Call up my buddy here, Jacob, and talk about that. But how often is it the case that like you're digging in and people are like, oh wow, that looks beautiful. Can you come over here to the shed too? And they keep adding on and adding on. They're like, oh, this looks beautiful. I mean, it's transformational. It lets people really realize and understand, appreciate. They spent a lot of money for this house. Why wouldn't they want it to look good?
Right.
It adds to that positive mentality they might have. Is that true?
Yeah. There's people will just call me over. Hey, can you hit this real quick? Just forgot about this spot over here. Can you hit that? And I try to do what I can for everybody, but at some point it's you can't just go everywhere.
Right, but at the same time, it does turn into business likely. Many times they'll say, oh, well, until you did that, can you come over to my other house or my grandma's house or whatever. But that's how good business owners run their business. You check out the reviews. We're going to show you a little bit about that. I put up on the far wall over here some pictures. I'll go zoom back out here. But we got the TV walls here. Everybody, great looking website. We're going to go over that here in a minute. And we're going to put this video. I'm going to let you take this video. Will you put it on the front of your website too? I'll give you a copy of it. And we're going to do 2 interviews for everybody too, because we're going to lots that he wants to share. Some of the in-depth, some of the nitty gritty about what you do to make sure your house gets cleaned properly and the things you should be aware of. And you even shared a little bit about people want to try to do some of this themselves. It's possible.
Yep.
And you probably don't want the people who are all the do-it-yourselfers because they're going to be over your shoulder the whole time. So let them do it themselves. And then after they can't figure it out, then give you a call.
Yep.
Right. That happens a lot too. I know that works. Part of the marketing strategy, a lot of people have share, help. And then when they give up, they're going to call you because you were the one sharing and helping. Great way to do business. Always trying to help people. All right, back to the TV walls here. On the far wall over here, we call it our right panel wall, and this is the back wall, right? Full wash exterior cleaning. 28 reviews of 5.0. Whoa. All right. Tell me a little bit about that. How do you think it is you've generated such high reviews, all 5 stars? not millions of them, because it sounds like you're not just go out and grabbing what, hey, everybody give me reviews.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying people, and there are people voluntarily likely doing this because that's how it works when you have a 5.0. I like what you're doing. And obviously, if somebody you've made upset, they would have said something too, but I don't see any of those.
Yep.
You've done it. You high standards. Is that part of the way you do things?
Yeah. The nice thing with cleaning is even if something's wrong, they're like, hey, this doesn't look right, and I offer 100% guarantee on all the cleaning. And so if it's still dirty and I'm still there, then I'm still working. And if it's not clean and I'm not there, you call me right back, and I'll be right there. So I try to make everything right with everybody I work with. If something can come off and I didn't get it off, I'm happy to make it right. There's no reason that I should be missing spots as a professional cleaner.
Is this encouraging? If you don't realize how young this young man is as a professional, you've got to be a professional these days. That means taking the time, doing it right. If there's a problem, you fix it.
Right.
And that's just one of the biggest things. A lot of people are like, oh, there's a problem. Well, hopefully they didn't notice. We're a big XYZ company, and we trained a guy for 2 weeks.
Right.
So he came over to do your power washing, and call us later if you missed something. Versus getting the owner to do the washing for you.
Right.
In this case, right? All right, let's talk a little bit about those reviews, because you've got a lot of them. I'm going to grab a couple here, because it does look like you do know what you're talking about, and why wouldn't you want to share with people a little bit about what you've accomplished? Because if you don't work hard and don't accomplish, then you're going to have problems with whatever it might be. And well, I'm going to come back to the reviews in just a second, because I got a couple things I want to highlight there for you. As I zoom down here, though, give me a quick cost analysis. A lot of people are like, why does it cost what it costs? And like I said, there's hard costs. Like you have to buy the equipment.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just use some of the stuff. I guess you could get your inexpensive power washer. I jokingly say wash. I'm from Fenton. I can say wash. I don't need that's a $200 power washer. You're going to get a power washer.
Yeah. That
has a lot higher PSI. What are some of the benefits from doing it that way?
Yeah. So the big thing with the equipment is the PSI isn't the biggest thing. It's more the gallons per minute. So you get a higher, maybe these Home Depot machines, you go to Harbor Freight, Home Depot, and they put out 2 gallons a minute, a gallon and a half a minute. And then you get an industrial grade power washer. You can do 8 gallons a minute, 17. You can get all the way up to 30 gallons a minute, and you're riding what looks like a riding lawnmower, but you're cleaning a parking garage with it. And it's putting out 30 gallons a minute. This isn't just some Home Depot pressure washer that craps out after one season, doesn't even make it through the winter. So there's a lot of costs that go into it. Obviously, insurance. If I do mess something up, I always make it right. So there's insurance costs and just chemical costs. With the soft wash is how we do it. Pressure. People think that when you're pressure washing a house, you're hitting it with 4,000 psi, but you don't want to do that. If you break a hole in the siding or get water behind it, it starts to mold behind the siding, and that's not what we want. So we do a soft wash, low pressure chemical application, and a rinse, and that'll get all the stuff just as good as a power wash, if not better.
Yeah, the chemicals are like we've talked with another friend of mine about this, and like the chemicals that are on there, they're exterior, they're eco-friendly, unless you get the wrong ones, I guess maybe. But that's what you want to use, because then you're not putting that high pressure on there. But the chemicals can literally just wash them off without hardly. You just got to put some water on it.
Yep.
But you got to know what you're doing again. And so back to, I always talk about the infamous do-it-yourselfer. And I buy the stuff and I spray it, and then bam, now I got a much bigger problem because I put on the wrong things, and I'm killing plants around the house.
Yeah.
And they are causing damage, discoloring things because I had too much bleach, I guess maybe something might do. I don't know. I'm making mistakes because I would just take a guess, right? Or I get on the interwebs and try to educate myself in about 10 hours. In 10 hours, I could have had it done by you. What is my time better spent doing?
Any type of work you got could be, you could do that instead of trying to do it yourself.
That's probably a good strategy for life and overall in general. All right, back to the reviews. I had to make sure we got that. Look at that. So here's a bunch of those. Tom Yeaton. You know Tom? Remember Tom?
Yep.
Jacob was thorough and meticulous in his work and went over and above and beyond our expectations. We highly recommend Bull Wash exterior cleaning. There we go. I'm just going to skip down a little bit. I'm randomly picking these because I know they're all going to be 5-star because that's all you got, which is pretty good. Jacob cleaned all the cement work around my house. He did an excellent job and was quite happy with the results. Polite and straightforward. Great using this man a guide to build on our power washing needs. There's a couple just out of the random 28 you got there already. people like what you're doing? Why do you think people appreciate your work?
Just I don't know, the professionalism and always staying on top of things, making everything right when possible. I'm big on communication. If I can't make it or I have to reschedule, you'll know right away. As soon as I know, you'll know. And then just a big thing is just the transformation itself is just sometimes it's huge. This guy Dave, the reviewer, looking at he hadn't had his patio cleaned in probably 10 years, and so I got a nice video of it, and it was like night and day difference. So that was a big turnaround for his patio, and underneath the grill area was just caked in mold and mildew and just a bunch of buildup.
And do you have some of those videos on your Facebook? Are we going to show some of those? Do you have...
I have a lot more on my personal Facebook. There are definitely some on my business Facebook as well that we can take a look at. Yeah.
We'll show some of those. We're going to do a second show. We might organize a couple of those clips to play in our second show. We move quickly here and have a little fun stuff. We have places. I have a cloud drive that we have people upload, but I'm going to pull it because I do notice you had a lot here. Let's share a little bit. I think second show we're going to show. Check out the second show. We're going to have all this review of the work you can see up here because he's doing a good job. There's his website though first, and if you do want to get great information, quick and easy, right? Fill out the form, and quickly that'll go into your system. You'll get an email or a text, I would assume.
Yep, both.
Both, and then you can quickly go through and respond, make sure everybody's taken care of for doing so. But great looking website. You got lots of good information here, but let people see that, and that will help you then to get through what you need to help people get the job done right. My scroller was acting up there, so we might make some adjustments here. But literally, I mean, when you have this kind of information, this kind of quality, you can tell somebody who's doing a great job. Bull Wash, Jacob McCallister, everybody. And you can get that information from them right there. Bull Wash, I love your domain, bullwash.com, 314-996-9183. Can they text that number too?
Yep. Yeah, that's my cell phone number. Go straight to me. Day or night, you can text me and I'll be there. I won't be there at night, but I'll definitely set some up with you.
Yeah, they definitely can get a hold of you so that you will be able to help them to figure out what's going on there. I want to give you that quick review. Here's that website I had there. I was scrolling and my scroller was misbehaving, but take a look here. And as you see, check out. This is the bottom of that website. So now we're going to go from bottom to top, but look at all the great information. Very professional, really good job on the website. And that means that represents you well because you are a professional and you want people to communication, everybody. I got a master's in media communication. You wonder, maybe what went wrong? How do I mess all this communication stuff up? But I like to help share the word and good work that people do in our community. All right, so if you would say there's one thing that really sets your business apart, and we kind of might have talked about that a little bit already, but give us a little feedback. What is it you think that really sets you apart? There's a fair amount of power washing companies around.
Yep.
But I've seen some of the work, the reviews you're getting, the growth you've had. What sets you apart from everybody?
I'd say definitely Bull Wash Wednesdays. I do a program called Bull Wash Wednesdays, and every Wednesday there's so many dirty neighborhood community signs. Like you go into somebody's neighborhood, there's a stone or brick sign that says the name of the neighborhood, and they're all dirty. And none of the HOAs have a budget for it, really. Nobody wants to pay a bunch of money to have some guy come out and clean it. So I go around and do them for free. I do one or two every Wednesday. I get the permission from the HOA and just talk to them and see if they want it done. And just being a clean freak like I am, they bother me, and so I want them clean. If they can't pay me, that's all right. I'll do it.
So this is something you noticed on your own, and you said, gosh darn it, if I'm going to just donate a little bit of my time and energy, here's what I do. Here's how I can help. And you said, when was the first time this happened? How long have you been doing this now?
I started it last year in May or June. I noticed the one in my neighborhood was super dirty, and so I contacted the HOA board people and got it set up, and everybody loved the results.
They didn't argue with you. They're like, how much? That's how you start business a lot of times. So it's good. It's also how you gain business, everybody. It's a trick of the trade. Do things to help other people. Then they notice you. Then they recognize you. Then they see the good work you did, and then they start to recommend you. And he's already, but you're still doing it because you like to do it anyway, just to make the world a better place.
Yep.
Continuing to contribute and donate. That's what leaders do on our little planet here in this world. Which, by the way, as I mentioned, every week we're giving one interview to a charity or community leader. We have 3 shows a week now. And we're working on 4 shows every week on ABC. If you know somebody, get a hold of me that deserves to be highlighted. Community-based, charity-based. And then we have lots of business owners, lots of sponsors that come on, and we do that too. If you know any business owners that would like to be on the show, maybe they want to be a sponsor on the show, they can do that too, because what we've learned is being on TV really takes somebody to another level. And we don't just do that for anybody. We've only had 300 guests on over the last 3 years. 250 guests. Some people were on for 2 shows, but or at least 180 or something like that. But 180 people, businesses, owners, charities, and all that stuff, because they are leaders in the community. They are doing well, and a lot of people want to be on. We get contacted all the time by people who want to be on, but we only pick the ones that we feel best represent, not just from a business perspective, but from a community perspective. I'm glad our friend here, Jacob, brought that part up, because that's important too. All right, as we finish up here, we've got a couple minutes in show number 1. And this is we might have touched on this already. What is the biggest mistake that consumers make with regard to power washing, pressure washing, house washing, exterior house washing?
So yeah, as I was saying earlier, the power washing versus the soft washing. I ask every client, are you familiar with the soft wash? And probably 90% of them, no, I've never heard of that. And it's because they're power washing houses, or they're looking for somebody to do it. And some of these guys out here still power wash their house when they should be soft washing it. If you power wash your house, you can break the siding, you can just disturb some of the paint, or get water behind the siding and cause definitely some problems behind siding that you don't see. And so the soft wash comes in with a more gentle approach, and the chemical does the work safely and much more effectively.
See, I had not even heard of soft wash until we did have another expert on talk a little bit about that. And I was soft. What? What's their soft? What are soft about cleaning a house? You gotta get up there, man. You go, you feel real cool when you spraying this stuff on there. And I had a power washer that I bought. I say washer on purpose. I had a power washer, and it went out. I bought it, used it twice. Doesn't even work. I just was using it to spray off my boat, right?
Yep.
Hard to get people to come out. I guess you come out and spray boats too. I guess if somebody...
Sometimes, yeah. Not too much around here, but if I was down south at the Ozarks, there would be a lot of people wanting that.
And all of a sudden, I spent my $200 power washer, pressure washer, which was a minimal one. I think it did 250, 300 psi. Is that enough to really do the job?
300 psi, I could probably hit you harder than that. Not that I would want to, but
if Mama said knock you out, good reason not to do that. But all right, everybody, we're finishing up here. Great information. The second half is going to be loaded with lots more of the tips and how you do it, and what mistakes that consumers make, and times when he's helped people that they didn't realize they needed help, or things like that. And it helps people understand the community and what we do, and things that you can learn from an expert like Jacob. So stay tuned for that. And it'll be on Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. We got to figure out which night we fit on which show on, but it'll all be on our YouTube and all that stuff too. So check that out. All right, everybody, giddy up.